It's the Austin Rover Mini. Now, you might be wondering why I'm even bothering testing such an old dog like this, but I want to find out what it really is that changed the world of motoring forever. The Mini came about after the Suez Crisis in 1956, which meant that petrol was like liquid gold in the UK. Sir Alec Isigonis was asked to design a small, cheap, fuel-efficient car for families, having no idea that the car that he was about to design would continue production for over 40 years. Under 6 months, Isigonis came out with a stroke of motor packaging genius that has been copied by small car makers ever since. He decided to mount the engine sideways, and by stuffing the final drive and the gearbox in the sump, it meant that 80% of the car's room was for passengers.
In 1959, at £497, it wowed the motoring press. Nobody thought the car would be quite as fast and corner as well as it does. The Mini also caught the eye of a racing car builder called John Cooper, who in 1961 came up with the now popular Mini Cooper, the fastest way to get from A to B, and originally sold for £680.
There was, however, one quite large problem with the Mini, and that was of course rust. The paint on these cars was so thin that you'd find that it would just start bubbling and peeling away. This meant that you were forever just changing panels and pretty much keeping these cars maintained yourselves. Okay, so typical weather, it's just started raining, so we're going to get up tomorrow and we're going to test it for you in the city. Okay, so there is one thing that I've noticed, especially when driving around the city, and that is that the suspension is quite hard. So every time that you end up going down a pothole or something like that, the suspension is just an absolute nightmare. There you go, perfect example.
Ironically, it was Rover in the 90s who gave the Mini the attention it deserved. Ironic because Rover is now owned by BMW, who back in 1959 created the Isetta Bubble Car, which, as you may remember, was the reason the Mini came to being here in the first place.
The great thing about these cars as well, that you can just literally, especially in the city, just park them absolutely anywhere that you want to. Just literally roll them back straight into a space and just literally swing them into absolutely anywhere. And I think that's the great thing about these, and you can pretty much park them. Well, you shouldn't really park a car either, but there you go. That's how easy it is to park a Mini. The BNC owner had two problems when building the Mini. Firstly, it was extremely underpriced at £497, and secondly, they were incredibly labour intensive to build. Over 3,000 nuts and bolts has to go into each car, all of which are put in by hand. So when they say you won't find a handmade car like this anymore, they're absolutely right.
Overall then, this car will never be remembered for being the most practical in the world, but the memories and the fun that it has brought will continue to be remembered for generations.